Hi, and welcome to Reed's Audio Reading. I'm Reed, and I hope you enjoy my channel. Today, I'll be reading the adventure A Feast of Flesh, written by Peter Hopkins. This adventure was published in Dungeon Magazine issue 77, November/December 1999. A Feast of Flesh. A Feast of Flesh is an AD&D side trek adventure designed for 5 to 8 characters of levels 3 to 5, about 24 total levels. The module takes place in a small farming village, but any rural town or village will suffice. At least one party member, priest or paladin, should have the ability to cast Cure Disease. The PCs are either passing through the village or seeking safe lodging for the night. For the Dungeon Master, beneath the village of Sherry lies a labyrinth of tunnels containing a nest of giant boring beetles. Individually, these creatures are not much more intelligent than other giant beetle varieties. However, this particular nest has developed a communal intelligence with a level of consciousness and reasoning that approximates the human brain. These beetles can organize themselves into a roving pack that clearly attacks the outflank's prey. The beetles feed on decayed organic matter. Over the last several days, they have hunted and killed most of the animals in Sherry, and even a few people, dragging them down into their network of tunnels and leading them to rot. The beetles have begun cultivating a number of molds, fungi, and sophroidiatic plants, including several shriekers and psychomids that the beetles used as sentries near various entries to their labyrinth. The beetles' tunnel network lies just beneath the surface of the village, and villagers try to cross a field or road have occasionally fallen into the tunnels by accident, only to find themselves torn apart by the beetles, which scamper out from the darkness from seemingly every direction. Because they are so close to the surface, the beetles can sense vibrations caused by footfalls. They usually allow people to enter the village by the main road, but they are less inclined to let visitors leave. They crawl out of their lair in droves to attack single targets attempting to leave or move about the village. Their combined intelligence enables them to emerge at various points to surround their prey. The villagers know the true nature of the menace and have chosen to remain in their homes, unaware that the beetles have chewed through floorboards and bored through walls to reach people locked within. The beetles recently completed a subterranean trench around the outskirts of the village, close enough to the surface that anyone trying to flee through the fields fall into the trench to be caught by the beetles or a randomly placed psychomid growth. The map of this adventure shows the village of Sherry and the layout of the tunnels beneath the village. The village of Sherry. Read or paraphrase the following box text as the characters approach Sherry from the east. The trade road leads to a small village consisting of no more than a dozen homes. Tended pastures mark the hillsides north of the village, while the land around the village itself is overgrown with fields of golden wheat ready for harvest. The village looks peaceful and quiet, far removed from the hustle and bustle of the distant city. Shiri is a closely knit farming community. Its citizens share the responsibility for growing and harvesting the wheat fields. The villagers rely on the money from the crops to sustain them through the cold, barren winter. The arrival of the beetles have forestalled the harvest, and unless they are driven away, the wheat will molder in the fields. More important than the crops are the villagers themselves. They have become prisoners in their own homes, too scared to venture outside. There are several holes leading into the beetle's underground labyrinth, but they are carefully hidden and difficult to spot from a distance. Sinkholes are visible to PCs standing within 10 feet. Characters entering Cherie see a few signs of life. However, closer inspection of the buildings reveals that there are people living in Cherie. Villagers spotting the PCs gesture frantically, doing their best to usher characters indoors without causing enough ruckus to arouse the beetles. The villagers have little money to offer the PCs as a reward for killing or driving away the beetles. However, the PC's own welfare should be reward enough. Any attempt to leave Cherie on foot or horseback brings 1d4 plus 1 beetles to the surface. The beetles emerge from various points around Cherie, ensuring that their prey has no safe avenue to flee. Village Key. All residents of Cherie are 0 level farmers. 1. O Kamouche residents. When the PCs enter Cherie from the east, this is the first house they see. The house and the stables are well maintained. Locked inside the house are Glenn O. Camouche, his wife Della, and his two young daughters, Esmeralda and Victoria. The family knows about the sinkholes located behind their home and watch them closely for signs of activity. 2. Morris Residence. This cozy domicile belongs to Irene Morris, a widow with three children. Her eldest son, Matthew, was slain by the beetles yesterday when he left the house to check on the horses. The beetles had broken through the floor of the stables and killed the horses. When Matthew set foot outside, two more beetles scuttled out from the sinkhole behind the house and attacked him. Irene's younger children, 16-year-old Thomas and 12-year-old Kelly, remain in the house with their sorrowful mother. 3. Kellington Residence. This quaint little house is empty. Its owners, Henry and Odette Kellington, were killed by a pair of beetles that burrowed up through the kitchen floor. Scamp the Kellington's orange cat has hidden himself in one of the kitchen cupboards. PCs investigating the house might be startled by the cat as it leaps out of its hiding place. The cat is tame and too wise to venture down the tunnels. 4. Owen's General Store. When the Beatles attacked Area 5 2 days ago, the family living there fled across the street, hoping to find sanctuary in Michael Owen's store. Sensing their vibrations, the Beatles attacked the store in droves, breaking through the walls and floor to reach the people inside. No one escaped the Beatles this time. The store is in shambles. Foodstuffs have been knocked from the shelves, the tables have been overturned, and barricades made from the store's previous occupants have been broken and cast aside. PCs searching the store for useful items find 10 flasks of oil, 5 hooded lanterns, 3 50-foot ropes, a 15-foot wooden ladder, 6 heavy kegs of cider, and numerous farming implements. Any of these items might be useful in fighting or avoiding the beetles. The ladder may be used to climb to the roof of the building. Although the beetles can scale vertical surfaces, they find it difficult to reach such prey and generally stick to easier targets. There aren't nearly enough oil flasks to smoke out the beetles, but the beetles themselves are deterred by fire. When confronted by an open flame, a beetle must make a successful morale check or flee. 5. Hagen Residence. Benjamin Hagen, his wife Narissa, and her feeble sister Amalithea lived here until the beetles broke through the floor and drove them from their home. The Hagens fled to the general store across the road, where they eventually met their demise. The house has been thoroughly searched by the beetles and is in shambles. 6. O'Malley Residence. This well maintained house is owned by Todd O'Malley. He lives here with his sharp witted wife, Kathleen, his teenage sons, Malcolm and Donald, and his elderly acerbic mother, Grace. When the Beatles broke into the house 3 days ago, the family retreated to the stables and hid in a tiny storage loft building above the horse stalls and four-wheeled cart. The Beatles have bored new sinkholes in the vicinity, but they have not yet forced their way inside. Locked in a stable with the family are two draft horses named Beatrice and Buttercup. Todd's sons have considered using the horses to escape and seek help from the nearest town, but the horses are not particularly swift and probably wouldn't make it out of the village. 7. Delaney Residence. Scott Delaney and his wife Brenda live here. They are a young couple who came to Sherry last year, and they are eager to start a family. Neither they nor their draft horses have been attacked by the beetles, but they are aware of the danger and have barricaded the doors and windows with lumber and furniture. If these defenses are breached, the Delaneys head down into their root cellar. The cellar has thick stone walls and a stone floor to keep the beetles from breaking through, although the determined beetles could chew through the heavy oak door leading to the cellar in 1d4 turns. 8. Drew Residence. This rundown house belongs to Emmett Drew, a widower with a 24-year-old son named Emmett Jr. and a 22-year-old daughter named Georgina. The family also has a large but friendly mastiff named Pouncer. So far, the Drews have not been troubled by the giant beetles, but they have seen the sinkholes beside their house. Despite efforts to keep the dog silent, Pouncer barks whenever he hears noises beneath the floor, and Emmett feels that it's only a matter of time before his family is chased outside or killed. If the beetles attack, Pouncer protects his owners long enough for them to flee the house. 9. O'Shea residence. Sherry's mayor, Liam O'Shea, lives here with his older sister, Jessica, and his children, 17-year-old Margaret, 14-year-old Brian, and 10-year-old Tiffany. The O'Shears recently heard the Beatles' savage attack on the adjacent stable house, but no one has ventured out to see how the horses fared. All three horses were slain and devoured. Liam offers the PCs 50 gold pieces to rid Sherry of its menace. The village cannot afford to pay a higher reward, however. If the PCs are truly selfish, Liam will ask Jessica to give them her fine gold bracelet, worth 100 gold pieces, in exchange for their aid. If good aligned PCs agree to help under these terms, their XP awards should be halved as a penalty for their greed. The tunnels below. The Beetle's tunnels are roughly 5 feet in diameter, with walls of loosely packed earth. The entrances to the labyrinth resemble sinkholes 3 to 4 feet in diameter. The sinkholes descend roughly 5 to 8 feet and are difficult to climb because of their loosely packed nature. PCs must make a successful climbing roll to climb up a sinkhole. Potent and devastating spells such as a fireball have a 5% chance per point of damage of causing a collapse when cast inside a tunnel. Whenever a PC walks across a tunnel, there is a 10% chance that the weight causes the passage to collapse, plunging the character into the labyrinth below. The sound of the collapsing tunnel leads 1d4 plus 1 beetles to investigate. The beetles arrive in 1d4 rounds. It has taken the Beatles less than 1 week to dig the network of tunnels underneath Cherie, and they are continually boring new ones. They can also excavate new exits, creating sinkholes wherever they choose. There are several areas of note within the labyrinth as indicated below. Characters fighting in a tunnel suffer a -2 attack penalty due to the close quarters. Size L weapons cannot be wielded in the tunnels, and size M weapons impose an additional -2 attack penalty. The beetles suffer no attack penalties when fighting in the tunnels. A. Psychomid patch. Psychomids resemble blobs of decomposing milk colored matter with capped fungi growing out of them. The beetles have bred these fungi patches from the remains of slain horses, sheep, and people. Psychomids are alerted by heat, sound, and vibration. When they attack, psychomids extrude a tube and discharge globes of fluid up to 1d6 plus 6 feet away. Luckily, these hideous fungi are visible from the safe distance once their true nature is determined. In addition to inflicting damage, the psychomid's fluid globules inflict the victim. If the victim fails a saving throw versus poison, he begins to sprout mushroom like growths 1d4 plus 4 rounds after infestation, causing 1d4 plus 4 points of damage. The growths then spread throughout the host's body, killing it in 1d4 plus 4 turns unless a cure disease spell is cast. B. Shrieker. Sprouting from a heap of offal in each of these areas is a shrieker, specially cultivated by the giant beetles. Light within 30 feet or movement within 10 feet causes the shrieker to emit a piercing shriek that lasts 1d3 turns. The noise has a 50% chance per round of attracting 1d4 plus 2 giant beetles, which arrive in 1d4 rounds. C. Giant beetle eggs. The beetles have dug their underground chamber to house their eggs. The eggs are several days from hatching, but there are exactly 40 of them embedded in the wet soil. Unless the PCs find this nest and destroy the eggs, they hatch and unleash several more giant beetles upon the village. Granted, some of the newly hatched beetles will kill each other, but that still leaves several dozens to terrorize the remaining villagers. The eggs are large, 3 diameter, and coated with a sticky salvic residue that completely protects them from non magical fire. However, the eggs are also quite fragile, AC 10, and can withstand 6 points of damage each. Sprouting from the floor in the middle of the cave are 4 shriekers that alert the beetles to the presence of intruders. The beetles, 1d6 plus 6 of them, immediately swarm to the nest to attack any intruders found therein. The tunnels leading to the cave descend markedly, and this chamber is far deeper than the rest of the labyrinth, 30 feet below ground level. Any large explosion, such as a fireball, destroys the eggs and has a 50% chance of triggering a collapse, leaving a sunken pit in the ground behind the general store. Ending the beetle threat. Characters who stomp their feet and make a great deal of noise can lure the beetles to the surface, but fighting a horde of giant beetles should prove no easy feat. PCs can find sanctuary on the village rooftops, causing the beetles to leave in search of easier prey. Also, keep in mind that the beetles have manifested a form of intelligence that makes them far more devious and dangerous than hungry, mindless insects. They could bore tunnels under a house until the weight of the building causes to collapse. If this happens, the DM should have PCs on the roof make a dexterity check. Those who fail their roll sustain 1d6 points of damage from the fall and automatically lose initiative the following round, immediately falling prey to the swarm of giant beetles. If half of the beetles are slain, the remaining beetles lose their ability to reason and begin behaving in a more hunger driven, mindless manner. In this state, they are more easily frightened away. If they fail a moral check and are unable to retreat into the labyrinth, the beetles scamper off into the surrounding fields and never return to Shari. The PCs can keep the beetles at bay with open flames, such as torches, driving them deeper into their network of caves. Collapsing sections of tunnels is fruitless, since the beetles can bore through the fallen earth relatively quickly. The PCs must find the beetle's nest and destroy the eggs. If the PCs kill all of the beetles but fail to locate the nest, Cherie is plagued by dozens more of the carapace killers. If the PCs destroy the beetle's eggs, each PC should receive a 1000 XP story award. The villagers are relieved and grateful, although they have little to offer the PCs as a reward except food and beds for the night. Thank you for listening to this audio reading of A Feast of Flesh, published in Dungeon Magazine, issue 77. I hope you enjoyed and have a great day. Best regards, Reed.